Hello, Marion. This is Nick Tregenza, and I've recorded this video of a look at your Pinger file because Pinger trials, the FPOD is really powerful for analyzing them, but there's an awful lot of steps involved. The first one is cropping the file to remove the ends. We've got a video online about how to do that, and I expect you're doing that already. But this screen is showing a view of the raw data in the bottom two panels and process data here. And what you see is that suddenly this panel, I've got three copies of the FP1 open here. Look at the files page, 1, 2, 3, and then two copies of the FP3. It's at this point, suddenly a lot of very long clicks appear, and that's obviously going to be the pinger. At which point, the classifier loses its nerve and says it puts everything in unclassed because kind of essentially it's afraid of sonars because this sounds so like a sonar. The very long clicks are very characteristic of sonars. So that creates an issue that you have to sort out, and I think you've recognized that already. And also at the beginning, you have to crop the file. I think I mentioned that. So you can see at the beginning, it's got a bunch of sonars there. Um, you put in some point where you think it's in the water and set selection start. Go to the end with the end key and same kind of thing here, set selection end. And then we could just quickly look to see how many sonars we've got here. Analysis file for analyze. About 96,000 clicks thought to be sonars. We will find a lot of them are not sonars. They're actually dolphins. Um, and if we look at the number of dolphins and we include unclassified in that, so about 100,000 put into sonars, 11 million put into dolphins and unclassified. So about sonars, the sonar category is like 1%. And what we will see actually is that it's much smaller than that because most of them are wrong. In fact, we could look at that straight away. So if we pick sonars, pick say 20 milliseconds, do show from start, show next screen, and we'll move forwards in file 4 because that's so up at the top there we will put not species class but clicks per second, and here we'll put clicks per second, maybe refresh. um, I'm have to put clicks per second in there. Okay. um, so this is actually very evidently dolphins. It's got this big mixture of frequencies. It's got these sort of very distinct bursts as the dolphin sonar sweeps across the pod. And the reason it's getting misclassified as a sonar is that river dolphins are quite unusual in having these quite long flat sections in their click rate profile. So that sonar, um, it was classified as sonar, but it was a dolphin. Same again, possibly the same again, but that's clearly a dolphin. So's that, so's that, so's that, so's that. Um, if if you have got a sonar here, you see a kind of practically straight line running through there, and I'm not seeing that in any of these. So, um, Yeah, and we can hit fast forward here. Um, and yeah, basically I haven't seen a sonar yet. Um, okay, so I'll stop it skipping along. So basically, sonars are really, at the worst, they're 1%. In practice, they're going to be below 0.1%, and they're not going to affect your statistics. So you don't really have to do anything about them. But what we need to do is like find where the pinger is. So if we go over here and let's look at number of cycles. So that shows the pinger up dramatically because it's got these very long cycles. And now we can look at other cetaceans and unclassified. And what you see straight away is that it's not really turning these into unclassified or other cetaceans. Maybe it is there, so we'll just have a look at that. Okay, so that train up there has come out of a pinger click. And if we look at the number of cycles in that, so number of cycles, it's huge. So what we can do is go back to where we had the dolphins. We'll go to the start. Um, and we'll find out what their clicks look like. So we can get kilohertz, duration, and maybe we can do amplitude as well. Okay, and we will graph that on what we've got showing here. So this is the early part of the file when the pinger isn't working. So that's the kilohertz, the click frequency of the dolphins. This is the interesting one, the duration. So this goes up to about 10 cycles in one click. Very few get to 20, almost none get above. Um, and basically they're accounting for most of the noise because that and that pretty much the same and that pretty much the same. Okay, so that was the dolphins there. And if we go along here to where the pinger is operating, and we do the same, we now get a very nice view of what's happening. The pinger is now sort of dominating the scene. It's not the only thing there, but its frequency is this one here, around 66 kilohertz. This stuff here around that is actually the dolphins. There's a lot of short clicks, same as before. They're the dolphin clicks, and a lot of long ones that are right up at 255 that are the pinger. Um, yeah. So we now have got an idea of the characteristics of the pinger, um, and we want to know, or you want to know, when it's happening. So what we can do is set up a filter here, and so we'll look for clicks with click cycles of more than 20, let's say more than 30, because they were getting very long. We're not going to bother about the frequency, and we're going to export the number of clicks per hour from 1, 2, and 3. they're all the same. They're all the FP1 file. So file 3 will do. Just check his results clear. Yeah, let's just clear that. Export data from the FP1 file. In hours, you could go into like 10 minutes and but we'll just do it on hour because it's like quicker to look at. Okay, cut that to clipboard. We'll open up a blank worksheet in Excel and yeah, shrink that down so you can see it. Drop the data in there and graph the number of these long clicks in an hour. And that's like exactly what we expect to see. There's that big patch of ping, and then there was this burst of something earlier that we said we were going to come back to. Anyway, let's say this is the pinger, and we want, or you'll want a sort of column which is pinger on or pinger off. So that's going to be pinger on, and we just put in here equals if the number is greater than, and I'm going to pick, say, 20,000. It's on, and if not, it's off. And then we can shoot that down the column, graph it again. Okay, so I thought I typed in 20,000, but no, I didn't. I typed in 2,000. Okay. Okay, so that's it. Now that's really useful. You've got pinger on and pinger off, which you can use to partition your data. Okay, so we go back to the FPOD software. Maybe we should validate the dolphins. So what we do here is we go to filters and files, find 100 sampling points, and this will be other and citations done, and I'm including low. Find 100 sampling points, set them. No open CPU that's selected for action. Right click. Okay. Right click here. Select this file for action. So now it's reading the FP3. It's picking out 100 points in the statistically correct way. Okay, and now I can use Control and S to move from one to the next. Oh, I'm in admin mode. Good heavens! That won't happen to you. Show from start. Control and S. Am I still in admin? I'm just going to do that again. Navigation. Set 100 sampling points. Finding equally spaced. So I had to click ignore all filters there. Okay, here's the problem. I still had that filter set there, so clear those filters. And now I'll do this again. Set sampling points. So that's the sampling points for other cetaceans and unclassed. Um, so we'll do Control and S. Um, so the question now is, was that dolphin? So the criteria for this is set out in a paper by Julia Vanchkova and me that we wrote recently. Um, so I'm not going to go through the detail. I'm just going to show you like how I would do this. So I would look at that and say that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good. None of these are sonars. Um, none of them are noise. It's a really nice data set. Actually, the background is quite quiet. I guess the river here is not sandy but muddy. Here it's quite sort of weak, so we look a bit earlier. And yeah, there's good dolphin stuff there. And I'm going to control and S my way through all 100 points. I think they're probably all going to be um, they're all going to be reliable dolphin detections. And I'm happy to, talk about any of this more in another session if you like. So then we've kind of validated the dolphins. Um, Now we want to drop, and it's not actually, well, yeah, it's not actually going to make much difference. Um, no, sorry, change of tack here. What we want to do is get the number to put in next to the when the pinger is on. So we've got other cetaceans and unclassed, filters and files. We haven't got anything set, but we could set one to avoid very long clicks. So if we exclude clicks that are more than, say, 20 cycles, let's just see what that does a minute. Um, that gives us 458,000 clicks. Um, oh, I set a minimum. Got it the wrong way around. Clear all click filters. Cool. So many mistakes. Okay, let's do it again. I was expecting it to be in the millions. Okay, 10,582,000. And if we get rid of that, 11 million. So we've lost about 5% by excluding those very long clicks. I think we should stick with that exclusion actually. Um, so maybe we'll just put it at 30 and see what that gives us. Yeah, because basically that's where the pinger has managed to get itself tacked onto a dolphin click train. So we're going to explore the number of clicks per hour from not file 3 now, but file 4 because it needs to be an FP3 file. Is results clear? Cut to clipboard. Sorry, export. Okay. Sorry about the jumping around here. Cut to clipboard. Get Excel up. Drop it in next to it. And label this dolphin plus unclassed minus in number of cycles greater than 30. All the other columns are going to be the same, and you can check that out, but basically you can delete those. minutes on, going to be the same. Delete that. And now we can graph this. Okay, so it immediately gets interesting. Um, so it does look lower when the ping is on, but it's not dramatically lower. Actually, a very poor effect for a pinger. In the pinger trials I've seen on Amazon River dolphins using the banana pinger, like that drops practically, well, drops to a very low level. And the stuff I've done here with harbour porpoises shows a big reduction. Marine dolphins do show a smaller reduction and more like this. Um, yeah. Um, so you're kind of now getting to the point where you've got some usable statistics. If you're doing this hour by hour, you would want to exclude the first hour because it's only got 16 minutes. The last hour's only got 4 minutes, so you can chop those off. But there you have it. Okay, so what I did actually was I created a shorter file. I cropped it and I kind of renamed it with a somewhat shorter name to avoid the duplication of the pod number and putting treatment in there. So and I added this to the name before I processed it, but you can do it afterwards. Um, yeah, and this basically gives you the same kind of results that we've seen. It might differ a few minutes in length. Um, so we did say actually that we were kind of interested in what had happened towards the just before the pinger started. There was a period with a lot of very long clicks, which was a bit surprising. So that's going to crop up here where we're looking at duration, number of cycles in a click, um, and we're expecting to see the blue end of the purple end of the spectrum come down here. Um, and we're not seeing anything because yet again I've left in place the filter that excludes the pinger. Clear all blue feels the same. So I do this a lot, and I still make a lot of mistakes. Um, so you have to keep your wits about you and think, is that what I expect? And it wasn't. So okay, it's got to work this time, or I should be really kicking myself. Aha, it is working. Okay, so this is the point where prior to the pinger properly starting, there was a lot of long clicks, which is odd. So I'm just going to drag across there. So this green line here that jumped up, that is basically telling you there's a lot of noise and the system's having to raise its threshold to deal with the noise. So we'll come back and look at that, but we're just going to zoom in on this. And guess what? Pinger was operating in there. So when I set the threshold in Excel, um, to um, to 20,000. Um, I did that wrong. I should have set it to something much lower, like 100. Um, I mean, we can just replot that. Yeah, so that's it. The pinger was on there. If I scale this, rescale this format axis and make the maximum, say, 2000. Yeah, and that's actually the very beginning of the file. So if I set 100, that'll probably work. So um, pinger on greater than 100. Okay. So now it's telling me the pinger is on then as well. And that is true because here we are looking at it. Okay. So that was the pinger on there. I'm just wondering what all this noise was here. So we'll just zoom in there. Is it dolphins or is it something else? Show next screen. It is actually a lot of dolphin activity. So it's just rammed with dolphins. Um, yeah, okay. Um, so what I'm inclined to do here is just look for social activity in these dolphins, um, which generally shows up as a lot of clicks in a short space of time. So here we've got about 11 and a half. Let's make it a bit longer. 23 seconds in a screen. And I'm going to ask the software script skip forwards until there's, let's just try 1,000 clicks in there. Show next screen. And I'm going to look at the click rate. So one of the reasons this software does kind of so badly on river dolphins is that they do stuff like this, which marine dolphins just never do, and we train, or very rarely do. And we trained the data on mostly marine. Yeah. So you'd think is that possibly a sonar? It absolutely isn't a sonar because if we look at number of cycles, um, it's not very long. Um, and you see all this structure within this, which is due to the way the animal's moving its beam around. You see a lot of multipath associated with each click. Um, yeah, so um, show next screen. Okay, so this is kind of getting a bit interesting because what tells us about social activity is patterns that are repeated, and that thing there is being repeated, and it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense as echolocation. But basically, we're not going to go anywhere. We're not going to be able to pull these things out if you've got all this activity down here. So we'll set a filter here. Let's say 50 clicks a second upwards. Show from start. Show next screen. Okay, so now we're seeing some. I've got a very large screen there. Let's move that back down. Okay, that's those three lumps which might be social. Okay, that's the only one that showed up with it going for that very high figure. Let's try half that. Um, Is this part of something repeated? Not sure. Um, so as somebody who looks at a lot of marine dolphin data, this is very interesting data. That ripple on there has got to be social because marine dolphins don't do that. And why don't they do it? If it's useful for echolocation, they could do it. Amazon River dolphins don't do it in the river. Um, I think you won't be able to hear this, but if I click play, a new file selected for action, select this file for action, play. Um, it's worth playing around with that, and you can raise the frequency by going to the display page and changing the pitch. Um, you can make it go through it quicker, etc. I'll just do it again. I don't know if you can hear it. Okay, so there's a slightly trilling characteristic that generates, but this is a very interesting feature. I think it's probably peculiar to Ganges River dolphins. I see it a lot in your data. Um, yeah, so I haven't pulled out any social communication at this site that's comparable with the stuff I did see earlier at somewhere else. I forget where it was, and I think I sent some images. Um, yeah. Um, okay, so this is running through quickly to see if there's anything really eye-catching. Um, okay, so my summary is you've got very clear data from your Pinger trial, and they're incredibly interesting animals. And I hope that was helpful. See you on Wednesday.